What's up, mi gente? It's Anthony Rosa, and you are watching another show on the Round Table Remedies. And I am your host, Mr. Remedy, and I'm super excited for our show tonight. We're talking about being optimistic. But first, I would like in speaker rotation my friends just to say hello and let us know where you're calling from. Ariani?
Well, hello. Thank you for having us. My name is Ariani, and I'm coming from New Jersey, Central Jersey.
Central Jersey in the house. All
Hi,
right.
hi, good night. Thank you for the invitation, Anthony. My name is Leila and I'm North New Jersey. So we're here.
Yeah. So Roundtable Remedies was created to inspire, connect, and educate you from real people, real stories. And we hope that some of the takeaways or remedies that we call it can help you be a better version of yourself. And let me tell you, this topic of conversation, being optimistic, is not something that kind of is automatically happens. I think that there's a story to tell for people who are optimistic, right? Because it's really easy to do the same thing and expect different results. And here on the Roundtable Remedies, all year long, we've been talking about different topics every month. And so we want to really encourage you and we want to engage with you. So if you're watching, please feel free to like, comment, and share. So, with our first speaker, Ariani, when you think of being optimistic, what comes to mind?
Positive mindset. That is the main key for me when it comes to being optimistic. You know, when you mentioned the subject for tonight's show, I was super excited about it, just because as an immigrant, I think being optimistic in the new culture, new country plays a very important role.
Absolutely. So, tell us a little bit more about your story.
I'll be happy to. so, again, my name is Ariani. I am an insurance agent here in New Jersey, and I've been doing that for about 15 years now. It means I really like my job, right? And I also work a lot with small businesses in my area. Um, a little bit about me and why I got so excited about optimism is basically because I came to this country when I was very young, and I come from a family who had no idea what they were going to encounter coming to a new country, right? And I know that a lot of our friends, a lot of the people that we know, our family, when when you mention United States, for them is the American dream, right? They're always thinking that it's the best, right? But they don't realize exactly what is it that they're going to encounter here. They don't know, what to expect. And so my parents are they play a very important role in my life, in my upbringing, when it comes to optimism. They came
Mm.
to this country, didn't know the language, didn't have anybody there to support them, to help them out, to try not to even give them clues on how to figure this whole thing out, and they did it. And one of the reasons why they did it is because um, being optimistic means having a positive mindset. A lot goes on to being optimistic, but I think that that's the first aspect that you need to have in order for you to fulfill those goals. Waking up every morning, having a positive thought, keeping in mind what your goal is and not what the problem is. And it's something that is very hard for us to do. But at the same time, it is what we are supposed to do if we know exactly what type of goals is it that we want to accomplish. Uh,
I find it fascinating what you're saying because in the moment, we really, if we think about it, right? Think about this. We really can't control our brain or our thoughts. We could channel them, but sometimes we have just pop up intrusive thoughts, right? Sometimes those thoughts will be like, I wake up in the morning and I'm sore and I don't want to go to the gym, right?
right.
That's an intrusive thought. My goal is to go to the gym, but in the moment, right? So, you know, that's a struggle with being optimistic.
Right. And it's something that is just normal. We're human, right? And we want everything to go perfect. But in reality, we know that there's going to be a lot of obstacles out there that we are going to have to encounter. And being optimistic gives us that, the fact that we also need to understand that there's going to be stuff, there's going to be, um, little things in the way, our path to reach that goal that we're not going to be able to handle. And we all go through this. We could easily say, or I can easily say today, I manage, being optimistic, keeping in mind a positive mindset, and trying to drive my day with that. But in reality, again, we're human, and we'll always have those moments where we need a little more, a little push, in terms of keeping the positive thought.
Right. So how do you push yourself in those moments where, you have your goal, but there's just, I call it uncontrollables, right?
Right.
How do you battle those controllables versus uncontrollables?
So I'll tell you, it took me a long time to figure it out that, you know, 80% of the time when you wake up in the morning and you write, I don't know about you guys, but I like to write everything that I'm planning for the day, right? So you need to make sure that you understand that there are going to be those items that you're not going to be able to control. And to be honest, one of the things that I do is that every time that I encounter one of those uncontrollables, I
Hmm.
stop. You know what?
Okay.
I
Okay.
stop, I take a little break, and I head back to what my original goal was, and I plan around. There's, like you said, there's stuff that you are able to control, there's other things that you're not going to be able to do anything about it. But at the end of the day, you have a goal that you need to reach. And whichever way it's going to take you to do that, you have to keep the optimism, keep the positivism, and do it. I mean, we have no other choice. And these are qualities that it takes time for you to be able to do it, and I'm an example of that. It took me a lot of years for me to accept the fact that I couldn't. I just I couldn't get to it in a perfect way, right? Because that's our we wanted it to be perfect. So in reality, it's just just being optimistic, being positive, and make sure that you understand that there's going to be items where you're not going to be able to to go through it.
Right. Layla, when we were talking about controllable versus uncontrollable, I saw you head nod there. What were you thinking at that moment?
I was thinking like, yeah, being optimistic is ideal, but for me, it's just that it's ideal. It's something that you want to accomplish, but you're not always feel like that. I'm not always feel optimistic, but still you keep going through whatever is happening. Imagine if my loved ones are sick, or there's a problem in my family. I'm not gonna be optimistic. I'm gonna be down. I'm gonna feel depressed, but I'm still gonna, like Ariane said, we're gonna keep going. So it's the only way. Even though it's not a steady feeling, we just have to go through and try to keep going, because that's the only thing that we can do. And in my case, what I always remember is my why. So whatever I'm feeling, and I don't want to do what I'm supposed to do. Why? In the first time, why I decided to do this? What's my why? So if for the best for my family, that's gonna push me. Is because I'm gonna leave a legacy in my business to my family. That's gonna push me. So when you find your why, that's the only thing that's gonna keep you going, whatever you feel good or bad or depressed or optimistic or not.
What is your why, and how do you define that, right? How do you create a purposeful why, right? I think that it's really easy to give up on your goals, right? Sometimes they say if your goals don't scare you, they're probably not big enough, right? And I'm constantly evaluating my goal setting, and I was like, does it scare me enough, right? So, what is your why? Layla? How do you create a why?
My why is that thing that I always talk to my clients about this. Let's say we're talking someone business person, right? Okay, I want to do this business. Are you able to work day and night without being paid? So that's the business you should go through. So it's the same thing with RY. Whatever it happens, I lost my job, I lost my loved ones, whatever is going to happen in my life, I'm going to keep going. If I can find that thing that is going to make me keep going, that's my why. So it's not something that you create on in your mind. It's not rational. It's not. It's a passion. It's a fire that it's something that you feel inside of you. Well, it's kind of like your intuition. Let's do this. Sometimes I don't even ask why I'm gonna do this. I'm feeling like, oh, it feels good. Okay, let's do it. So when you find that in your life, so you will know that's your wife or your purpose. Different people call it different names.
Right. Ariane, I see you nodding. What are you thinking?
I totally agreed. I did this exercise a couple of years back at my job, and you know what? Sometimes you set goals, but you don't realize that there's besides the goals, besides that big house that you want, the car, and all that stuff. Like Layla said, there's always that why behind it. For me, it's my family. They drive me through on everything that I do. That big house that I want, the car, the traveling, the stability, everything that drives me. My family is behind, and that's another thing that I had to be grateful for my parents because they did a very good job, teaching us to be patient, to be resilient, to be not, just to work hard, just to keep that goal in mind and not to deviate from it. They wanted us to make sure that whatever we wanted it, we had to work for it, that we had to keep the positive mindset. And you're going to hear me, saying a lot about being positive and, being on the right mind. And it's basically because that's what optimism is. It everything that has to do with you pushing yourself to accomplish on those goals and to be better. It's going to go through being optimistic and to to have that positive mindset and a good energy working, that it's not just it's not going to be just one day for you to wake up and be I'm going to want to be positive, I want to do things right, I want to accomplish everything on that notebook. It's the consistency. So challenging yourself to be better every day, and to understand that and everything in life takes a lot of work and a lot of discipline.
Right, right. Like being optimistic is is trusting that good things will happen, right?
Right.
And and you know, just having this conversation with other people and just kind of reflecting, it's really easy just to kind of fall into the opposite, right? What is the opposite? Pessimistic, right? And it's like I don't know if you know anybody or have a friend that has just like a negative outlook on, and just like, you know, I can't have a negative outlook. Even when I'm going to Wildwood, I'm like telling my spouse, Cindy, I'm going to see a parking spot, buy a white truck on the right side when we make this left. I and look, let me tell you, like most of the time it works. And I feel like being optimistic like is a superpower of like trying to manifest something good, which of course is easier said than done,
Right, right.
right? But Layla, you talked about something, like if just something that's happening that's really serious, and it's kind of you want to be optimistic, but you got to be real. You got to be in the moment.
Yeah.
So Layla, how do you balance the two?
So in my case, when I came to this country, I did it by myself. I came to study, so I came to college, and without family, without friends, I didn't know anybody. So I started knowing people at college, and so who were there to motivate me or to tell me what to do? My parents are never. They never said like, okay, this is what you're supposed to do with your life. No, do whatever you want, be happy, which is makes things a little bit more difficult. because now you think, okay, what makes me happy? What should I do with my life? It was like that. So I came to this country, no motivation. I have to do what I decided or I felt to do. I just follow my intuition. And that moment is a hard moment because you're broken heart because of away from home, away from all your loved ones. You feel lonely. You're feeling like, okay, this is the rules. I don't know the laws. I don't know the laws. You just at college. It's like a bubble there. And when you
Mhm.
go outside, you know nothing, literally. So it's that was a really difficult time for me. I wasn't depressed, but I was kind of, my energy was really low.
Mm.
So I was supposed to do. I believe that in life, God or the universe, whoever you want to believe, is always going to put you someone in your path that is going to help you. And someone introduced me to Anthony Robbins. Believe it
Mm.
or not, I started listening to his programs. I still have hearing his things that I read every day. So every
What
day I just
you
pick
want?
one. I went
Read
through
us a
the
little
whole
blurb.
program. It's like 3 6 cities, and I'm still using it. So that became like my motivation. So you have to find your motivation, because sometimes you're not going to have it like so quickly, or it's not going to be the room next to you. So for me, it was that. It's always being a different speaker, a different motivator, but he's the one that is stuck in my mind every time that I have to think about optimism. He's really realistic, but of course, he keeps things positive.
So I want to ask those that are watching right now, what motivates you? We talked about Tony Robbins. Is there any other? Is it a pastor, a songwriter, a parent, a friend? Who inspires you? Please feel free, like, comment, engage below. And Layla, it's really interesting, right? Because you and Ariani both share a very similar story on your background coming to this country. So let me ask you, what do you think about when you think of the title tonight, being optimistic?
I thought like, okay, that's really cute. I love it. I love the title. I didn't think about it before. There is not a thing that I don't actually think about being optimistic. It's just for me, it's like I have to keep going. And of course there are super happy moments, and I treasure those. And I guess I keep it there like in a bank of feelings, so when I feel down, so okay, I remember when I was feeling happy. So it's really interesting, and seeing the point of view what you just said before. Optimism is kind of like faith. You
Right.
cannot see it, you don't know it's going to happen, but
Right.
if you're faithful, okay, this is going to happen, like you were just paths, it happens. So it's really beautiful.
Now, I said before, there's a natural struggle with being optimistic. And I know that you just recently opened up a nice office in Edgewater. Why don't we talk about that?
Yeah. It was last year was a year full of changes. And yes, I just moved to a new office. And yes, I have to stay optimistic that a lot of clients are coming so I can pay the rent, but I also save for that. So we just have to use different strategies. So you save your money just in case of emergency, and you keep working in your networking or your social media, whatever is going to bring you those clients. So I jump. That was a jump of faith,
Yeah.
actually, because I moved from a co-working space to an office, which now I have to buy even the sugar and the coffee cups. I didn't have to buy those before, so I'm learning, but it's exciting.
Oh well, it is exciting, right? And it's being mindful, really, of why do things keep happening to me, and people are just kind of out of mind, out of sight sometimes. And it's really like, okay, have you ever looked at your routine? Have you looked at your habits? Have you looked if you have set up a budget plan? Are you monitoring your credit score? Do you have the right people around you, friends that are influencing you in a positive way, right?
Do you
Sometimes,
celebrate your little tiny victories? We don't do
right?
that. Especially, I guess, I don't know, Ariane, if you agree, but especially women, we
Yeah.
don't cherish a lot of things. if it's not something big, we don't celebrate. It's like, okay, yeah, I should do that.
Right,
You
I
know,
agree with you. I agree with you.
what do you think, Ariana, is a small win that you probably is, again, out of mind, out of sight?
Well, I'll tell you, like after I had a nonprofit here in New Jersey for a couple of years, and because of all the access that I have to clients and friends, and I do a lot of networking seminars. I have always wanted to open a consulting office, and it was like every time that I was ready to do it, I'm like, okay, hold on, I have to push on my insurance. The insurance is a little difficult right now, so I had to put more time on that, and it kept me back from doing it. And one day I went to the bank. I talked to this lady, and she's like, "Oh my gosh, I know that you've been working on this for so long. Why don't you do this?" I got home and I did it. And although, like, I'm sure for a lot of people it's not a big deal, for me it was a huge deal. My parents always were able to have businesses of their own, and although I was running the insurance, having my own company, like you look at that name and you're like, oh my goodness, it's a business registered to my name. Again, not maybe it might not be a big win for someone, but for me it is. I'm
Yeah, of
still
course.
like it takes time.
Just
I'm still
seeing your name
accumulating.
there with the business registered and seeing the
Right,
date
right.
just so real, you know?
Right. And it's the same thing every time that I get a client and they call me and they're like, I'm ready to jump into registering that business. And I'm like, okay, give me a couple of hours, I'll have it ready. And they don't, they like, I cannot believe it, like how easy it was. It took me so many years for me to make the decision to do it. And it's a great feeling, It's a small start, but it's a great feeling.
Leila, you're shaking your head, and you kind of help business owners register and get going too. So, we're all kind of consultants in the same like fields, and so we can all probably share funny stories of, kind of people that need a little bit of a push off that edge. It's like you might be a slow starter, but again, that's that optimistic versus pessimistic. You
Right.
might need that person to say, hey, listen, it's easier than it sounds, yes, but if you have a plan and you have the right people around you, then being optimistic can actually be more real.
Yeah. I guess I'm an optimistic accountant because when I present the statement, the financial statement to my clients, I said, look at your business is a good standing. And the other day someone said, yeah, but no, it's not a good business. I think I'm gonna close it. It's making a lot of money. Like, why? Because I cannot go on vacation 3 or 4 times a year. That doesn't mean you have a bad business. It doesn't mean you have a bad mindset. That's it.
Right.
Your business is not to go on vacation 3 or 4 times a year. So I'm kind of like that with the clients because sometimes they feel that they're drawing. I have to close, and no, they're doing good. It's just they cannot see it because they're not. To your point, they're not optimistic.
Right.
And I think there's a lot behind there, Leila, just because we're not cultivating on those type of qualities, right? Where most of the time we are focusing on the problem rather than the solution. My parents, my dad, you always used to say you need to capitalize on every single opportunity that you have in front of you. And I have always been on sale. So for me, it was like, goodness, it is true. Any bad or good opportunity that you have in front of you, you need to capitalize, and you need to make sure that you can develop whatever it is, because in the moment, and that comes with being optimistic. In the moment, you might feel that it's something that's not right to you, but maybe it's right to the other person.
Right.
So there's a lot, and when it comes to being optimistic and being able to develop it, the qualities to keep the good positive,
Yeah.
the good mindset.
There's a saying, and it's a serenity prayer, and every so often I like to kind of just remind myself this, and I like to read it for those that have never heard this. I highly recommend it. If you look up serenity prayer, it says, God grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, the courage to change the things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference. And it helps to keep me grounded, right? Because you know, again, I come from a low income family, and I'm an EOF student. I went to college, to play football, and because EOF is Equal Opportunity Fund, here for students that come from low income households. And so I was able to kind of take advantage of that and get out of my situation. And I always said, becoming a finance coach, I want to stand in the gap. So I really appreciate, just the both of you coming on and sharing your stories. And it's not easy, but we learned today that there's a natural struggle in being optimistic. And it's okay being in the moment, right? If
Right.
you just gotta roll with the punches in a sense, but don't allow those punches to keep you knocked down.
Right. And embrace with change. A lot of us are not open to changes. And, having, being optimistic, being positive. And we talked about, keeping up with this quality. So not just a day, but, implement it every day. It's what's going to help us, achieve our goals. It's not going to happen in a day. It takes time. And like I said at the beginning, I'm an example of that because I was terrible. I would wake up in the morning and write my notes, and I wanted things to go my way, right? But when you're mindful that there's some stuff that you are there that you're not able to control, and you understand that, it helps you tremendously.
Absolutely.
and
Yeah.
and always remember your why, and especially for those that have kids, those tiny persons are looking at you and are looking at how you face life, and that's what they're going to repeat moving
Right,
forward. So it's
right,
important why I start doing this, so I'm going to keep going. And I learned from a coach that is only two energies in the world: it's
Mm.
love and it's fear. So if we operate from love and we do it because we love our family and we love our clients and we love to make a change, like Anthony loves to do it with the kids at school, and you with your clients. So if we do it from that energy, it's gonna work. There's no other way. But if we do it
right,
from fear, like, oh my gosh, I need more clients. I'm gonna keep
right,
out of money. I need money. If we feel this fear, it's not gonna work. So it's
right.
kind of easy. It's difficult. Keep on that track, but it's one or the other.
So naturally, what we're doing right now is we're going into the final part of the show where we go over final thoughts. Okay. And I love the extra information, the energy that you guys are just giving, because one, it's relatable, right? I don't know about you all, but sometimes I wake up like super ready to go before my alarm clock. There are times where uncontrollables, maybe the baby woke up a couple of times, or maybe it was hot in the room. Maybe
Right.
it was just something, or maybe you just had something that kept you up at night because you were thinking about something. So it's really interesting, right? Just kind of being transparent and being vulnerable. And here on the round table, this is what our goal is, right? So Ariani, as we're wrapping up tonight on being optimistic, what are some of your final thoughts?
First of all, I want to thank you for having me. It's been fantastic. I'll tell you something. On my first year of college, I was at a Rutgers University ceremony today, and it took me back to those years. Right, I'm a Rutgers graduate. I wrote a paper on optimism, and I had to write about the entire experience of my parents, and even for me, having my own family, running my business. um, it's all about mindset, and it's all about waking up in the morning, realizing that there's stuff that you're not going to be able to control, and being sure about it, because there are going to be stuff that you're not going to be able to control. Um, but you do that, you cultivate, like I said, you cultivate those qualities, and you take the fact that being optimistic is what going to help you fulfill those goals, and you do that every day. you wake up with the same attitude and in the same thought, you're gonna be able to fulfill those goals.
Wow, thank you. That was amazing. And Layla, what are some of your final thoughts?
Yes, it is important to be optimistic, and yes, it is hard. For me, like like 2 or 3 days ago, I went back to gym after more than a year that I was out
Woo.
of gym totally. And today I was on a spinning class and I have to stop and go into the bathroom. I said to the guy, like, I can't. I felt that I was dying. My body was shaking. So my body didn't want to be there. So I went to the bathroom, did what I have to do, and then I came back like 15 minutes later just to stay the last five in the back. So I sat down there and I talked to myself. I call it mi misma. I talked to myself. I said, "Listen, we're gonna go back and we're gonna sit there. You want it or not." So that's what I did, and for me, that was for of today the best part of the day because I could keep going what I promised myself that I wanted to do. So from my experience, it's not easy to be optimistic, but if you push yourself, you're gonna find it. You're gonna do what you're gonna do, and you're gonna feel better. You're gonna feel happy and fulfilled, and there's nothing that can compare with that.
Wow, and listen, I think that I admire the both of you for the sharing your stories and again being transparent, and that's what it's all about. So thank you for those final thoughts. I always like to end the show with a quote of the night, and this one is from Helen Keller, and it says, "Optimism is the faith that leads to achievement. Nothing can be done without hope and confidence." I
Beautiful.
hope you had some takeaways, some remedies on tonight's show. Thank you all for watching. Please feel free to like, comment, engage, share, tag a friend. Go in grace, go in peace. This is Anthony Rosa, Mr. Remedy, and you are watching another show on the Roundtable Remedies. See you guys.
Thank you, Anthony.
Thank you, Anthony.